My name is Michael Perlberg. I'm not sure if I've already introduced myself, but I'm the Director of Support and Implementation here at Outfield. I have helped to onboard quite a few people onto Outfield, making sure that they have all the right tools in place, the right information going into the system so that they can make the most of it. And as we go through here today, guys, I'm going to be very well equipped to answer questions, but I also have another member of my team kind of hanging out in the background. His name is Sam. Sam, do you want to say a few words before we get going here? Just from your side, everything you'll be doing?
For sure, yeah. Feel free to throw in some questions in the Q&A box. I will be addressing them via chat, and we'll periodically check it and answer any questions you guys have.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. All right, guys. Well, we're going to get started here on the team activity page. This is what I like to think of as a good landing spot for administrators. Now, before I go much further, I want to lay out a little bit of a story because I think storytelling is going to help us out quite a bit here. We're going to be putting ourselves in the shoes of a gentleman here in the upper right corner. His name is Michael Scott. You've probably encountered this gentleman at some point in your life. He manages a team that sells paper, printers, and office supplies, and we'll see those people today. You may have heard of some of his sales reps like Dwight Schrute, Jim Halpert, Phyllis Stanley, the whole crew. We're going to see those people throughout today as our example. I like to use this as an example because I think it's really realistic on how somebody can actually use Outfield, right? Michael here, he is a manager managing salespeople, and they are using Outfield to document the conversations that they have with their points of contact, their customers, their prospects, their potential accounts that they want to be working with. And so we're going to be looking at Outfield through his lens. But again, guys, if y'all have questions and maybe they're very specific to something that your team does, maybe Michael Scott doesn't do it. That's okay. Throw it into the chat. Sam will get an answer. If Sam doesn't have an answer, he'll make sure that I know about it, and we'll make sure that you guys have all the information that you need in order to be successful on Outfield. So we're going to get started here on the team activity page. This page is exactly what it sounds like. This is where all the different things that your team does out in the field, it all gets aggregated into this one spot so that you as a manager can review it. You can scroll through these activities. You can gain a better understanding of what has happened on the team. We have a quick little dashboard up here towards the top that shows the number of touch points that we've made, how many deals, tasks, and notes. These are just different activity types that we have on Outfield. But really what I like to focus in on are these touch points. Touch points in my vernacular is really just any effort of communication that we've made to an account, right? Whether that's an in-person visit, that's our check-ins. You've probably heard that term before. And then, of course, we've got phone calls, emails, text messages. Not all business takes place, face to face anymore, right? We might be on a phone call. We might have an email pop back and forth here and there. All of that can be put into Outfield, and this is where it actually ends up showing, right? So we have some tasks that have gotten completed here. Here is actually a visit that Dwight Schrute made. So this is one of our check-ins. And when we look at activities as an administrator, we get some accountability data. I don't want us to get scared off by that because at the end of the day, this is just making sure that our team is going out and doing the things that they need to be doing, right? But going out and visiting face to face with a client could be the difference between landing that customer, making sure that they're happy, understanding their issues as best as we can. And so when we look at our accountability piece here, every activity on Outfield gets a time and a date stamp, right? We see that this activity occurred. This is a visit that Dwight Schrute did with Academy Sports and Outdoors on, I'll just highlight over it here, Friday, February 28th at 10:20 a.m., right? So that's our time and date stamp. Have a good understanding of when this occurred. I also know how long this activity took. This was a 6-minute visit. Now, everybody that we work with has different lengths of their visits, right? Sometimes a 6-minute visit can be a very impactful visit for one of our customers. Other times it's hardly enough time to even have a decent opening line with, a buyer or a decision maker there. And so, that's always going to depend, but this was a 6-minute visit. We didn't spend a whole lot of time interacting with Academy Sports and Outdoors here. We also get this map. And this map is going to show a couple points of interest. Typically on my trainings, I like to throw questions out at people to see if they can answer it correctly. But I know we're on a webinar. We're going to have our voice lines kind of muted here. And so I'll just tell you this, there's something going wrong with this map. If you ask me, is Michael Scott the manager here? I look at this map, I see something that is a little bit concerning, and that is where Dwight Schrute is located in comparison to his customer, right? We see this little stick figure over here on the left side of our map, this blue building icon over there on the right. That represents where Academy Sports and Outdoors is actually located. And I don't think this should be something that managers necessarily need to breathe down their team's neck on. From a accountability standpoint and tracking your team. There's a lot more important stuff going on, but at the end of the day, making sure that, hey, I'm paying this rep to go out and have a face-to-face interaction, that is actually happening here. What's most important is the notes and what was actually accomplished. I like to think of that as the content of this visit. So we met with Richard to chat about new products. That's great. We scroll down here. We have some photos that we took here as well, so I could tap into those photos, see some extra details there. I can even see that we filled out our existing client form. So guys, on forms, and we're going to talk about forms a little bit later on, but they're basically a questionnaire, a survey. And if I wanted to see how Dwight answered that existing client visit form, I'm going to click into our details button here. This takes me to a page that I like to call the snapshot of the visit. This is like a one-pager that just has a lot of the same information, but definitely has that form and the questions that we're asking within that form, all the answers that Dwight put in here. And everybody's going to have different forms, guys. I mean, if you are a current user of Outfield, you know that your forms do not look at all like this, right? This is asking what customer tier do they fall into, how many reams of paper did they go through, what's their satisfaction level. That's important for Michael Scott and his team out here selling paper. So that's what Dwight filled in, right? I know, just from looking at this, getting a quick breakdown, that this client of mine is a low revenue customer. They don't spend a whole lot of money with us, but they go through about 40 reams of paper every month. We talked to 2 people while we were here last, and that their sentiment towards our products were that they're generally happy, right? And they're purchasing standard paper, recycled paper, bond paper. I'm just reading through these because you get the sense that this is meant to be quick, right? I mean, as managers, we don't have time to go out there and do all of these visits, right? And that's why we pay our field team to go out and do them. But when we have the opportunity to check in and kind of see what's going on, we want it to be quick and efficient, right? And that's what that one pager is really meant for. Now, coming back to this team activity page, you'll notice that this whole setup is similar to something we probably interacted with before. That's going to be social media, right? I'm sure we all got a Facebook. We all at one point had Twitter. And as we scroll through here, you'll notice that we have the like button, a comment button, and a share button. I know it sounds a little vain to have some, a like button in your business tool that you're using to manage your sales team on, but we've found, and our customers have experienced this firsthand, is a great way to provide some positive reinforcement. If you see one of your reps going above and beyond for their buyer, or maybe one of their team members is out sick and a rep is covering that team member's accounts for the week or for the next couple days, I think all of that is deserving of a little bit of recognition. This like button allows you to do that with almost no effort at all, right? You see something that you have an appreciation for, hit that like button, let that person know that they're doing some good work, because it has an impact, right? It feels good to have our hard work not only seen, but also appreciated by, our colleagues, our upper management. Getting that recognition can be a motivational factor moving forward. Now, comments could be used in a very similar regard. You can always gas people up here and give out some words of encouragement, but as a manager, you might have questions, right? As we're looking at this activity, Dwight, he met with Richard to chat about new products. I might have a question for Dwight and maybe for Richard, asking, hey, what did we think of those new products? Is there any opportunity here? Do we think we can maybe sell that in, or, just to have a conversation, right? I can ask those questions here within the chat. I can also, provide coaching advice, and, my reps, they can come in here, they can ask their own questions as well. It's meant to be an area where we can collaborate on some of these conversations that we're having with customers. Of course, you're going to have a share button here as as well. This just provides you with a URL link that you can share, send it off to somebody else, and it kind of gives you just like a little view only page of this visit that Dwight made back in February there. And so that's just how this feed works. It's just showing chronologically everything that the team has done. Of course, you're gonna have all sorts of different activities in here depending on what your team does on Outfield. Like I said, phone calls, texts, those all show up in here. Tasks getting completed. These little green areas here, these are deals moving through our pipeline. So a lot of our customers actually put in like their revenue numbers into Outfield. They have deals that mature from prospect all the way to closed account. These are those actions. Anything that's showing up with that little money symbol there is a representation of a deal. Now, this is not just a feed of team activity. Something that you guys may have noticed over the last month or so is that this page up at the top kind of looks different from what it's looked like in the past. And that's because we've started to hide our map by default. The reason why is mostly around efficiency purposes, right? Just making it a little bit faster, snappier load speed on this page. But if we click this area that says show map, it is going to populate my map and show me all of these pins scattered across Houston. And those pins, they actually represent what we were just looking at. They represent my activity feed, just where those activities are actually taking place. So we can zoom in on this map. I can, try to, click on certain things and, okay, this is a check-in that we did at El Rancho Mexican restaurant. I can click in to see the check-in details there if I needed to. But from a macro perspective, I really think this map can be quite useful. If I wanted to get a better understanding of where my team has spent their time, I can toggle on here a heat map. I can turn these markers on and off. I'm just clicking these buttons here in the upper right corner. I can turn on my live traffic conditions even if I wanted to have an idea of what somebody on my team might be going through. But with this heat map, I find a whole lot of value in this heat map. It starts to tell me a little bit of a story, and that's going to be a theme that we see here on Outfield. There's a few areas of the system that are going to tell you a really compelling story about what's going on with your team. And the story right now is telling me that my team spends a lot of time on the west side of the city. This little red area here indicates a high concentration of activities taking place there. It's not all of the activities. You may notice a little faint green area here, and even further west, there's even some other tinges of green there. But certainly have most of our activities occurring here, kind of in this Hunter Creek Village area. And guys, it's time to be honest with ourselves. If that's where all my customers are located and that's where my team should be spending their time, this is not a bad thing. The unfortunate reality is that Houston is a big market. I should be venturing out into some other areas. I shouldn't be putting all of my eggs in one basket, spending all my time in that one area, because I could be missing out on, potential customers. I could be forgetting about other customers that I have across the city as well. This just tells me that, we're a little bit too one-track minded in that area. And so you may want to expand upon that. Now, by default, guys, this page is going to show you your team activity for the current week that we're in. I've actually gone ahead and changed this just so it's a little bit cleaner for us to look at, but we can filter this down in a variety of ways. If I wanted to look at specific forms that are being filled out, I can do that here, right? Hypothetically, maybe Michael Scott here, he wants to sit down with one of his reps and review all of their existing client visits that they did, kind of as like a performance review. I'm going to choose my existing client form here. Our activity types, I could keep this as check-ins potentially there. Team members, we're going to sit down with Dwight Schrute, and again, we have our date range here. You can adjust this. I'm basically looking at the last 12 months here, March 9th through the end of this week. We'll hit let's go. And Outfield's going to give me exactly what I asked for. It's only going to show me those check-ins where we filled out our existing client form that were made by Dwight Schrute. And let this load up here. Not sure why it's taking a little bit of time. There we go. So you'll notice our map changes up quite a bit. I only see that, hey, we've done, we've visited with 3 accounts. Now, that all being said, we visited with those 3 accounts about 34 times here, right? So spending a lot of time over the last year in those one area. That's kind of what we saw a little bit earlier with that heat map. And I bet if we turn this back on, Yep, there we go. Kind of as I expected, we're going to have that high concentration. Most of our activities are taking place. What is this account with Academy Sports and Outdoors? I'm not too surprised by that because I do all of my test check-ins with those types of accounts there. Now, once we filter things down, this page is great to run through. You could sit down with your team members and kind of review the activities, of course, go through and do some quality assurance around it. But if you wanted to produce this into a report, all you got to do is click this button here in the upper right corner that says generate report. It's going to do exactly that. It's going to PDF a report that gets sent over to you via email, and you can take that into whatever meeting you want, right? Or just have it, sip your coffee in the morning as you're reviewing that. These are very similar to the reports that get sent out on an automated basis, right? We send out daily, weekly, monthly reports. You can configure those here within your team preferences. We'll take a look at that towards the tail end. Now, if you are more analytical, I consider myself a numbers nerd. I love getting into an Excel spreadsheet. Sounds kind of crazy, but you can click the export button here in the upper right corner, and this is your first step towards doing that. Again, you've got filters up towards the top. You've got all of these check boxes that you can toggle on and off, and this will dictate what data you get back in your Excel spreadsheet, right? So if I want the name of the account that we visited with, maybe I want the address details, boom, you've got that in there. We've got all of our default fields, those special characteristics that you might apply to your customers, like their territory, their customer tier. And of course, down here towards the bottom, these are more or less like, we call them like calculated fields. These are fields that take a little bit longer to produce, but they're going to give you information like whether or not the activity was done on or off site, image links there, the amount of deals and activities that we've done there, form results. This is a big one. All right. Those are the answers to the questions, and it's not turned on by default. We do that to, kind of preserve our load speeds, but definitely if you need the answers to your form questions, make sure that you include form results into that export. Once you got the data, then you can do whatever you want with it, right? You can throw it into a pivot table, do some VLOOKUPs, do whatever you need, guys. I'm gonna pause here, just give everybody an opportunity to throw in some questions there into the chat. I have not noticed anything come through quite yet, but don't forget to do that, right? If you got questions, throw it in there. Sam can answer it. If Sam cannot answer it, I will make sure to step in and see if I can provide some assistance there. But feel free, throw them in there. We are going to proceed onwards here. And I want us to, keep in mind this map. And I'm actually going to get rid of some of these filters here that we had set. I'm going to keep that date range. I want to go back to this heat map and where we're spending our time, right? Turn those markers off. Again, we're spending a lot of time there on the west side of the city. The next area we're going to venture into is going to be our accounts section. So if I click accounts, it's going to give me two options. We got places and contacts. Both of these areas function very similar to one another, just a big differentiation that places, these are going to be, the buildings, the offices that your team goes in and actually visits with. Meanwhile, the contacts, these are the people, right? These are the people you're developing those relationships with, buyers, managers, employees at locations of your customers there. We're going to spend most of our time there within places just because there's a nice little one-to-one correlation here between those activities and these places that we're doing them at, right? If I show this map here, again, kind of preserving our load speed, if we turn on that heat map, I have now a heat map of my customers. This is not a heat map of my my activity. This is my customers. And realistically, if I'm doing activity with my customers, my activity heat map should look a lot more like this. What I notice is a big difference here. I have now two areas of red. And yes, I will admit we have a high concentration of customers there on the west side of the city. So it's not the worst thing that Dwight is spending a lot of his time over on the west side of the city. But what is a bad thing is that I have this hot spot of customers up towards the top of the loop here. That's the north side of Houston. When I say top of the loop, we have this red area here that just represents, hey, you've got a lot of customers over there. And what I noticed earlier is that I was kind of neglecting that area, right? Those could be some pissed off customers right there. Somebody that, maybe we forgot about, or it's, again, like I said, just completely missed opportunities. But I love, going back and forth between that heat map. We got a lot of customers that find value in doing that. Again, telling us that story. Hey, this is where, your team is spending time. This is where your team should be spending time. And that's why I'm talking about that places heat map here. This is that, this is what we should be doing versus the actual reality there. Now, with this page, you've got a search bar, and a lot of our pages are going to have search bars. I didn't even mention the one on the team activity page earlier, but it just allows you to find that needle in the haystack of what you're looking for. We do have advanced searching loaded into Outfield, so this allows you to restrict your searches on Outfield to certain criteria. If I wanted to find potentially, we got custom and default fields in here. If I wanted to find all of my platinum customers that possibly fall in my north territory, right? I can hit search, and this is going to help me find those accounts. Let's see what populates here. I have one platinum customer in the northern part of the city, in our northern territory, and that's going to be Walmart Supercenter. I don't get a whole lot of results there, but this allows me to narrow down that search. Everybody's going to have different search criteria that they want to use, and so that's just a couple examples. You're going to have the obvious stuff as well, like the city that it's in, maybe the state that it's in, and this will be useful not only for just finding an account you're interested in, but also managing who has access to your customers, right? Out of the box, sales reps, field reps, your employees, they don't just have access to everything. You as a manager need to distribute that access to them, unless you want everybody to have access to everything. We do have a setting for that. I'll talk about that towards the end, but a lot of our clients like to control that. A sales rep may have a territory that they own, and they don't need to see the other sales reps' territories. If that's the case, I want to show y'all how you can manage that type of access here, and we'll do another search. So I'll go in here and look up territory. And let's find all of the accounts in West. Right, so I'll hit search here, and this is going to populate that list for me. I know it's not all on the west side of the city. It's kind of a misnomer, but this pulls up 23 places for me. It's not my full list. This is only falling into the Western market. And turnover happens, right? I mean, we get new reps coming in. We got reps going. We have territory shifting between different people for all sorts of reasons. When we need to change it, this is how we do it, right? So we search for that territory that's going to be changing hands, and I'll click select action down towards the bottom. It's this little drop down right underneath our map, and I get a bunch of different options. So what we're most concerned with right here is assigning team members, potentially unassigning team members, but this is how we distribute that access, right? So if I click assign, it's going to give me this little drop down. Well, I can click through and choose the name of the rep that is going to be covering these accounts, right? Maybe Stanley Hudson is the new person that's going to be covering the West Market. So I'll choose his name, click assign, hit OK here just to confirm everything. And now Stanley's going to have visibility of those accounts. When he goes onto his mobile device or his app, he's going to see the West territory there, and he can start going out and visiting with them. Like I said earlier, not everybody has access to everything just out of the box. We need to give them that access. Of course, if I'm giving that territory to Stanley, maybe I need to take it away from somebody, right? We click unassigned team members, literally do the exact same thing. It's just going in the opposite direction. There's a few other options in here, guys, that might be useful. We haven't talked about account-based goals yet, but you do have the ability to set that on whatever list you've come pulled up here, right? So if I wanted to say, hey, that list in the West, we need everybody that is a part of our field reps to go in and do 25 visits with this territory throughout the month. I can go in and set a goal like that. We're going to talk more broadly around goals towards the tail end. We also have another webinar kind of separate from this one. It's just high-level admin stuff. We have another webinar that really dives into the performance system of Outfield, covering league play, the game. Also, a big piece of that is your goals. So check that out. We're not going to dive too much into depth here today on that, but we have some resources available for y'all. When we look at this page, this is what we currently have in Outfield, right? Those are my accounts that fall into the West Market. If I needed to grow my list here within Outfield, there's a variety of ways that we can do this. I mean, your team using their mobile apps while they're out in the field, they can prospect and add customers on the fly, right? That's great. Not really what we're covering here today, though, right? If we click add place in the upper right corner, this allows me to do that manually on a one-off basis, right? Just put in all that information on my own, kind of, do the hard work myself. We also have a prospecting search bar here, which allows you to type in the name of, I could type in grocery, right? I hit grocery store. This is going to find grocery stores in my area. That's all those red pins that pop up. Here's a Kroger. It gives me the address. It gives me the phone number, the website there. A lot of that same capability is going to be possible on the mobile apps there as well. That's where we typically see people adding in accounts. But on the web-based version here, especially as administrators, what you may encounter from time to time is a list that you have. Maybe it's an Excel format or a CSV file, as that's what we accept. And you need to get that list into Outfield, right? Again, this is one of those things that I could spend uh, a lot of time talking about and covering. And we do this a lot during our implementation processes, but you can take that file and you can import it here into Outfield. If I click that import export button there in the upper right corner, it brings me to this page where this first section is accounts, right? If I want to import places or if I want to import contacts, I can do that from here. I can also update my places and contacts in bulk that are already in the system using their Outfield ID. The process, again, I could talk at length around this, but in general, we're going to upload our document. We have templates here that you can follow along with, just the general fields. Of course, you can throw in some custom fields in here as well, but this helps you take that list of accounts that you want to get into the system, label out your columns, confirm it, and they will get imported. You can create up to 2,000 accounts at a time here. And if you need to do anything bigger than that, what I would recommend is either splitting up your file into smaller files or get in contact with somebody on our team. Perhaps this is a project that we can do for you. We do charge for those types of services, but if it's something that you would like us to take that workload on, more than happy to have that conversation. I certainly think that this is something that anybody can do. It's not rocket science. It's really just taking an Excel file, the table of your customer info, making sure everything lines up, going through that process on Outfield, and then you'll have thousands of accounts at your disposal here. Now, coming back to this places page, let's actually tap into one of our places, right? We'll click into Academy Sports and Outdoors here, go into a customer profile. And, when it comes to managing an account, I'm sure a lot of y'all put, a lot of that trust into your reps to do this, right? You're not coming in and breathing over their shoulder, doing their jobs for them. But when we need to take a look at a customer, we need to know how to do that, right? Let's say Academy Sports and Outdoors, maybe they just went out and they bought $1 million worth of product from us, right? That's pretty cool. I want to come in here and understand, hey, what's going on with this client, right? I want to know anything I can about Academy Sports and Outdoors. So when I go into their profile page here, it's going to tell me, briefly up at the top, how many activities we've done with them. This is for all time. It's going to tell me if I have anything coming up on the calendar. It's going to tell me if we have any tasks that need to get completed. And guys, I'm ashamed of this, but I've got a bunch of overdue tasks on this account. And you can see that some of them go as far back as 2022. There's something that Phyllis should have done preparing for an activation that just never got completed. So it's here as an incomplete task there. You've got these buttons that give you a few account details, show you the team members that are associated with the account and have access to it. But the meat and potatoes, as we scroll down here, is going to be this tab system. This is all of the information tied back to this account, whether it is an activity that we've done, right? This page should hopefully look a little familiar. It's basically the team activity page, just filtered down to this one customer. I think this is a big, slept on value proposition for any CRM platform, right? And that's the history that we have with the customer, right? You get a really great outcome, see what actions your team did to generate that outcome. Maybe it's a repeatable process, something that you guys can learn from. Let's say, God forbid, it's the opposite, right? You have a customer that's been with you for a long time, they've been really happy, and one day it just all goes down, right? They churn, you lose that account. We want to figure out what led to that as well, right? Hopefully prevent that from happening in the future. This activity feed here should be your diary. It's the timeline. It's the ledger of what you have done with your customers to date. And so that's just that first tab. We have deals, which is going to show any of your deal pipeline activities. Depending on how you use the pipeline, guys, this is going to show some different information. If you're more on a business development pipeline, you might see one deal in here and it will tell you, hey, they're sitting in the prospect stage, or we've done needs analysis. We've submitted a business proposal to them. For other clients of ours that are doing orders, you might see actual transactions in here, right? right? Like this February 4th order here for $649. If I click into this, this will tell me that this client, is looking at purchasing some ink cartridges and cartons of paper for just south of $650 there. So gives me some context, right? Again, just housing any data associated with the client here. Linked contacts. These are going to be people that we work with whenever we work with Academy Sports and Outdoors, right? I don't walk into Academy and have a conversation with somebody named Academy Sports and Outdoors. I'm talking to Bob. I'm talking to Aaron. Maybe I'll have a conversation with Robert or Roy there. And this is just my Rolodex, the people who are actually affiliated. These are maybe the decision makers that I want to have a really strong relationship with, just having all of that connected in here. The rest of our tabs, guys, are all going to be analytics. And I want to be transparent here. Some of these tabs are a part of add-ons to Outfield. I'm in an account that has all the bells and whistles here, right? So revenue, inventory, and orders, these are all a part of an add-on that couple add-ons actually that allow you to recognize revenue within Outfield. And then, how's your inventory stats within here as well. The products and how many products this client has purchased over time. Here's that revenue chart just briefly if you guys wanted to see that there. But like I said, this isn't core out of the box Outfield. Certainly can be added into y'all's teams if it's something that, would be helpful. I think, from time to time, being able to see an invoice that somebody paid last month or how much money they have spent with us thus far, that can be really, helpful, especially if sales reps are having conversations around those details with their customers. Market insights, productivity, accountability, these are all going to be more standard Outfield analytics. We are definitely going to take a look at these on the aggregate level. So I'm not going to spend too much time on them here. We're going to take a look at that once we get over into the Performance Plus section there. But this is where we can go to learn as much about that customer as possible. Something I didn't mention a little earlier was that we have this account-based goals section. It looks like I actually have a couple goals associated with this customer. This customer falls into one of my territories, it looks like, falling into that Katy territory. This is a suburb of Houston. And my manager has gone in, or Michael Scott, that's me, I'm the manager. I've gone in there and said, hey, team, we need to go out and do 25 visits with our customers out in Katy. This is one of those accounts, and we haven't done a single visit with our customers in Katy. So this is sitting there at 0%. Might need to have a conversation with whoever manages those accounts. Platinum customer visits, haven't done a single one of those either. So we're falling behind on our goals. Again, telling the story. Now it's time for us to put our manager pants on and get to work, right? Have some conversations with the team and make sure that, everything is going as expected. Now, I'm not going to cover this in too much detail because this is really more so in line with something that a sales rep would do, not necessarily an administrator. But in the upper right corner, you have these buttons here that allow you to log activities with the account. You could actually log a visit with the account here from the web-based version. You can click more and document a phone call, email, text, task, set something up on your calendar. Not what today's session is about, but I want y'all to know where to find all of that type of information. Now, we're going to jump back over here to our account section. Let me check real quick, see if we have any questions coming in. It does not look like we do, which is good. It means I'm probably doing a really good job. But just looking here at the places page, guys, any other questions that you'll have, please throw them into the chat. We're going to be moving on from this section into our deals pipeline. So when we go into the deal pipeline here, from a macro standpoint, this is showing me the process that my team takes to close down business, right? I have a pretty granola pipeline set up in here. We got a prospect that, could convert into a lead. We do needs analysis. We submit a business proposal. That deal gets accepted and closed. And then we, maybe go into some account follow-up, some extra stages there towards the end. This whole process here can be customized. You do not have to fit within this mold. You just click edit pipeline there up at the top, and you'll be able to adjust these deal stages. But each of these little cards that we see within our deal pipeline represents a deal. It represents a potential sale that we might be trying to make with that account. We have Bob's annual stock here, right? With Bob Vance here. This is something that Jim Halpert is trying to push through the pipeline. We have some business proposals that are here as well. And, we got some analytics to show here towards the top of each of these stages. Not only does it tell you what the stage is, it's going to tell you how many deals you have in that stage, what the total dollar value is of that stage and what your average deal size is. In addition to the, more or less monetary side of it, what I'm more interested in is the amount of time that something might sit in our pipeline here. When we look at, say, for example, this Fiesta Mart order or Aisha's Salon and Spa. Let's look at Aisha's because this is a really good example. And this does happen to be my deal. I'm Michael Scott here in this scenario. That's my little picture there. So this is something that I submitted a business proposal to this client. Looks like back in May of 2024. It's a long time ago. In fact, it's been in this stage for about 10 months. So I submitted that business proposal to them. I haven't done anything with this account. We see my last activity here was 3 months ago. So I'm not really following up. It's kind of stagnating in the pipeline. And I think this is definitely something that you want to be conscious of. You want to be wary of deals that stagnate in your pipeline because that is what we call a bottleneck, right? That is something that is in there. It just could be getting in the way. I myself, if this is my deal and it's not moving through, maybe I need to give somebody else an at bat for this, right? And let them take over on it, introduce Dwight to this client, see if he can navigate them into accepting that deal and closing it down. But I always like to look at the average amount of time in my stage, how long it's been since we've done certain things, like, deal accepted here, right? For Adams Automotive, it's $1,000. It's been in the stage for about 12 days. And the last activity that we did with them was also 12 days ago. So again, we have not followed up. That might be okay. 12 days isn't a huge amount of time, but somebody accepted hey, we're going to pay you $1,000 and that was good 12 days ago. We haven't heard back from them since. Probably want to get in front of that, right? And ask some questions there. Of course, you can create new deals from here, but we're not going to dive into all of that. It's really something that a field rep would typically do, and you'd see the results here. Of course, like all of our other pages, search bar, you got importing and exporting up towards the top. That allows you to, take this information in and out of Outfield. But I'm going to jump now. We're going to go briefly through the calendar and tasks. Again, I think this is something that field reps typically manage on their own, but as an administrator, you've got some oversight into this, right? You have a full team calendar that shows what everybody is doing. Now, all of these colors that we see, my calendar is a little blank, but our calendar has these color codes on it that represent what we're looking at, right? This drop-in that we did on the 28th here, I can click in. This is a visit that Dwight Schrute did with, looks like Academy Sports and Outdoors. I think we saw this one a little bit earlier. We also have a task that has been completed there, right? All of those colors kind of translate to what we did on the system. What I really want to call attention to are these gray activities. These are things that got scheduled out on the calendar, but they did not get completed. And that could be a bad look for us, right? If we're scheduling things, if we say we're going to be in a certain spot at a certain time in the day and we don't follow through on it, that could lead to some negative outcomes, right? We want to be conscious of that. We want to be aware of it. That's that gray color there. Of course, you can schedule things on behalf of people. A lot of our, especially on the marketing side, scheduling out events for people, you may want to click add event here and schedule something out. If you need to do this in bulk, there's a couple extra ways to do that. You can click add more events here, and this takes you to a dedicated screen that I like to say it's built for speed, right? You schedule out your event, and then you click add additional event, and you just do one after the other, one after the other, right? That's certainly pretty easy, but if you have this information in a spreadsheet, like just thousands of rows of events that you want to facilitate on Outfield, you can absolutely import that, right? You just click import and export. Again, going to take you to this screen that has all of our data stuff on it here, but you'll scroll down to our calendar event section, import this. You can create events. You can update events there if you need to. And again, it should look very similar to what we saw earlier. The only thing I do want to call attention to here is your date formats. Guys, dates, they're finicky, especially when we got to include a start time and end time here. But this is 4 different formats that we're looking at that we accept, right? So you can kind of write it out there like, hey, this is starting at March 1st, 2021 at 5 p.m. Or you can go the super technical route and do this whole thing here that has your time zone included in it. I actually do think that this format is a little bit easier to work with if you're doing imports, just because it's a little bit more formulaic there. But we'll cross the bridge of importing calendar events whenever you guys need to. Just reach out to us. We're here to help. Obviously, we've got some resources that guide you through that as well. But we're going to jump here to our tasks page. This is in the same realm of preparation as the calendar, right? Tasks help us stay on top of things that need to get completed. And so we see here my task list by default, but if I want to break this down by our team members and see everybody's task list stacked on top of one another, I'm going to change that here within this little drop down. We've got Dwight Schrute. He's a goody two shoes. He didn't have any tasks that are overdue or not complete here. Jim Halpert, on the other hand, has a little bit of a different story going on. You'll notice that when tasks are associated with customers, I get a little hyperlink that's helpful. It takes me right into that customer. But I might want to have a conversation and ask what Jim has been doing for the last, I don't know, 4.5, 5 years almost. He's got tasks from 2020 that are still incomplete. And if I need to delegate any new tasks out to people and create those right now, I'll just click add task in the upper right, describe it out, choose the team member that it needs to go to, and set a due date there. Maybe this needs to happen no later than Friday by 5 p.m. As we have options in here for reminders, there is no shame in having a bunch of reminders for something that's really important for you, right? If you got a big presentation that you need to prepare for, a meeting that you need to get ready for there, set 5 reminders once a day so that you don't forget to do those things. That's kind of the point of them. Nobody's going to think otherwise there. And so love the task page, love the calendar. I think, both in tandem really help you stay up to date on things that need to get completed or things that should have gotten completed at some point. But that ties together everything around preparation. We're going to spend a big remaining portion of our time here today on Performance Plus, and then we're going to dive into some housekeeping, admin related things that I think is going to be helpful for you guys. But jumping in here to Performance Plus, this is where we're going to house League Play, which is a game that we've built. Again, that's one of those things that I could talk a whole extra hour for, but for the sake of time, I'm just going to review it briefly here. But we also have our analytics section. We have our League Play settings, our goals, all of that lives here within Performance Plus. We're going to jump straight over here to analytics. And again, revenue, inventory, and orders, these are all a part of add-ons to Outfield. So I'm not going to put a huge focus on those today, but just know that this helps us understand the revenue that we're bringing in by our team members, by different products that we're selling, the orders going through our pipeline stages. We're getting stats all around those. So I can see back in February, we had 25 prospects enter our deal pipeline there. In comparison to every other month, it's a lot better, right? We got a lot of goose eggs falling through here on my demo team. But productivity here, just cut right over. This is that high level overview of our activities on Outfield, telling us how many check-ins we've done, how many tasks we've done. The default view here is over the last 6 months, right? So my team hasn't done a whole lot. Now, I like this view, but I find more value in it when I differentiate, not necessarily between, the check-ins versus deals versus tasks, but looking directly within, those forms. And so we'll choose this option here that says by form. This changes what we're looking at on the screen, and it will tell me how many times we've done each of these forms. You'll notice I've got all of these boxes here represent a form that my team could fill out. I have a lot of forms that I use on Outfield, but I like this breakdown because it spells out, again, tells me a story of what my team is spending their time on. I can look very quickly at this and understand, 81.3% of the time my team goes out and interacts with a customer, they're interacting with an existing customer here, right? They're filling out that existing client form, which, depending on where I'm at as a business, right? If my market is really saturated and it's really tough to get new customers, and we really put a big focus on our existing book of business, this is not the worst thing in the world, right? A lot of our customers, though, tend to be in growth mode, right? We want new business. We want new doors to open up. And for my team, the way that we accomplish that is by, having that initial conversation, doing a cold call. Is over the last 6 months, I have done 1 cold call, and that takes up about 6% of all activities that my team has done. That is not enough for us to, move that needle in the direction we want it to, get more business. And so I'm going to have a conversation with my team. That's what I do with this story, right? I read that story, I understand it, and now I'm going to start making some changes with the team. I might show them this, it's a donut chart here, and show the team, hey, this is what we're spending our time on. Maybe we need to a bigger, focus there on those initial touch points, those first conversations there, do more cold calls. Here in a little bit, I'm going to show you guys how we might be able to encourage that through the league play system, set a goal for it potentially. But this is that high level overview of our productivity. We have market insights here, which takes all of the questions that we're answering within those forms and allows me to see the trends that are taking place. I can filter these all down. Let's go take a look at my existing client form here over the last 6 months. And you'll notice some of the questions on here we've seen before, like what customer tier do they fall into? How many reams of paper did they go through last month? Allow these graphs to load up there, and it's going to start to tell us, hey, our average customer goes through about 43.3 reams of paper. That's how they answer that question each time we visit with them, and I can see the trend over time. September was a pretty good month. The average customer is going through 52. That really started to fall off in October. November was abysmal. There's probably an anomaly going on there. Maybe it's some holiday stuff. Nobody was buying paper. Maybe there was a shortage or something. Regardless, the data is telling us something, because December and January we had a nice rebound, and back in March, February, it's not looking good, right? So we're having some context into these numbers, but this could get a conversation started, right? Go in, ask some questions with the team, start figuring out, hey, why is this happening? Why does the data look like this, right? The rest of our tabs here, I'm not going to go in super depth. So I would imagine we've already done a webinar over a full analytics review, or if we haven't, I'm sure we will in the near future. But for the sake of time, we'll just kind of breeze through this. Accountability is your percentage of on-site versus off-site visits there. Your goals here, this is your team's percentage of hitting their goals. When we talk about goals, these are things that you can set up ahead of time, like, hey, team, I need you to go out and do 25 visits every week, and see your team's ability to accomplish that goal, right? When it comes down to creating good goals, I like to think of something that is relatively challenging, but still feasible, right? If you create a goal that everybody is able to hit 100% of the time, easy peasy, that goal is not challenging enough. You want people to miss that goal occasionally, right? But obviously, if that goal is too challenging, nobody can hit it. It's going to be a little bit demotivating, right? And we can see I have a bunch of different goals going on here in my team. We see, doing check-ins throughout the week, customer touch points here. I can click in and see who achieved this goal for that month. That was Dwight Schrute. I can click further into that goal and see everybody on the team and how they are accomplishing it. This is a really simple and easy goal. Most of our customers are going to have something a little bit more realistic, like do 5 visits a week, do 10 visits a week, do 50 visits a week. Just depends on your cadence that you follow there. But those are our analytics here, guys. We do have custom analytics that covers, we call it ISO Intel. That's this green button here. Braden, I believe last week, one of our account managers did maybe not last week, but the week before, did a whole webinar over this. So please go in and check that out whenever you have the chance. But that's some good resources there for you. Want to jump here to League Play. This is housed within Performance Plus, and this, guys, is a game that we built into Outfield. We built a game into Outfield so that you have a way to one, drive more motivation with your team, and have some excitement around using Outfield, but also pushing adoption of the platform, right? And a lot of the sense, CRMs are only as valuable as the information that you're putting into them, right? They're just not instantly valuable once you sign on for a year with us, right? You don't get instant value. You got to use it in order to get the value. And this encourages that usage, right? So anytime your team goes out and does something, they get points for doing that. If I click into my field reps here, there's our gang here. We got Dwight and Jim Halpert. This is El Clasico, right? This is the grand matchup that everybody's used to. If we click into this matchup, we see that Dwight has more points than Jim Halpert. And why does he have more points? Looks like if we scroll through here, he's got more leadership points. So he's communicating with some other team members. But your team gets points for doing all sorts of things. Like if they're going out and visiting with customers, points. If they're putting in notes, points. If they log a phone call, again, points. They plan something in the calendar, right? All of these things that are good for their usage, they're going to get rewarded there for it and can compete, right? We have a lot of our clients that like to have a lot of fun with this. They run contests around it. We have a leaderboard in here as well. It's kind of like a secondary game where Dwight Schrute, he's leading the pack. Everybody else is kind of slacking off a little bit here. A lot of our clients like to run contests here with this, where maybe whoever gets first, second, third place gets a prize. We also recently, this is for anybody on this call and anybody who eventually watches it, we offer a service that we facilitate those contests, and we do all of the communication. We order the prizes, we send the prizes out to the winners, and take that burden off of your shoulders, right? If you want to, set up some incentive contests around that with your team, do something a little bit custom. Our account managers are very well attuned to doing all of that. We've got some pretty cool prizes that we've given out. I think last year or maybe earlier this year, we had Randy Moss, the world famous wide receiver, historic legend from the NFL. He was, given some shout outs to the winners of the contest. We've had people get trips. We've sent off, technology like speakers, iPads, stuff like that. All things that, are all a part of the prize structure, right? And things that your team could earn through literally just using the platform in the way that you want them to. Now, from a management perspective, changing all of this up, you do have some control over the settings. But guys, for the sake of time, I'm not going to dive into all of this. We actually have, again, one of those areas where we run a webinar fully on the system. I talk about it for almost an hour, where you get to change up the scoring system, tweak the points, set things as KPIs, manage the schedule of your matchups there that refresh every week. But this is just another resource for you guys to have. Again, hit us up if you guys are interested in running some contests with us. They are quite fun. I won't lie. It's cool to see the reaction that we get out of different teams that have something up for grabs for earning more points throughout the week. Now, for the remainder of our time, and we don't need a whole lot of time to cover this, but managing the account and making sure that the right people have access, that how to pull information out of the system, make big changes to the team. That's all falling within your duties as an administrator. So we're going to start here with team members. And I don't know why I clicked tasks. I meant to click team members here. When we go into our team members page, this is going to show me my roster. So we see, Dwight Schrute, Jim, Camille, Phyllis, Stanley. All of these people are current users. Let's say, though, that Stanley is retiring, right? He's getting out of the game. He no longer needs to have access to Outfield. What I need to do here, guys, is click this gear icon over on the right, and I need to deactivate him. He should not have access to my Outfield account. And I also, as the person who pays the bills, I don't want to pay for his license anymore. I want to keep that credit, right? I mean, in a lot of cases, our clients of ours have prepaid for Outfield. They want to keep that credit, and whenever they hire Stanley's replacement, they're going to use that credit to pay for their license, right? This makes sure that you have that. So definitely remember to deactivate your users. Once you deactivate somebody, you can undo it very easily, right? We see Kevin, Pam, Roy Anderson here. If Roy Anderson ever wants to come back and join the team, I can always reactivate him here, get him back in there. You'll notice a delete button, but guys, I don't recommend deleting users. The only reason why is because it does basically the same thing as deactivating them. You just can't undo it, right? So be sure that you want to do that. Obviously, inviting team members here is super easy. Just click invite team member there in the upper right corner, put in their name, their email address, set their permission level that you want them to have access to. If you want to be a little bit more granular with that permission level, click show optional fields here. You got your permissions, right? So you can edit basically any page that your team members have access to. Certain capabilities that you do and don't want them to have, like deleting places, that's in here. We have a lot of our clients want to turn that capability off so that they retain everything. It's just whatever your preferences are. Some people don't want their team creating places on the fly. So these permissions have come in quite handily over the years. But permissions for deals and pipeline stuff, team visibility, accounts, activities, performance section. And if we don't have a permission there for it, just ask our team. Maybe there's a different area where we can make some tweaks there, but always open to entertaining that conversation. Coming back over here to setup and going into our forms, these are those questionnaires that we're filling out whenever we make our visits with our accounts. And I mentioned earlier, I have quite a few, right? We see all of those listed out here. You can create new forms, new questionnaire surveys by clicking add form in the upper right corner. That just brings you to this blank builder where you start asking those questions, putting in the answer choices that you want. Again, all of that funnels into your analytics. It's what your team interacts with during their visit. So we want these forms to be high quality. Now, speaking of high quality, a lot of forms do not start off as high quality forms. We need to massage them into place. We need to, receive feedback from the reps that are actually filling them out and tweak them over time, right? How do we make changes? Very easily, we just click into them, right? We click into our cold call form here. This is something that I've had set up for years, and now I want to make a change to it, right? All I have to do is click in and I don't know, edit the wording of one of our questions, add in some extra answer choices, add in new questions altogether, right? All of those are things that you can come in here and make adjustments to while we're looking here at our forms. And we typically cover this throughout the implementation process. But for anybody that's new, you can require questions to be answered. You can incorporate some conditional logic into these using some if-then statements. Like if we answered this question here as, hey, they're a legal customer, maybe we want to add in a follow-up question that says, follow up with legal specialist. And then we'll make this a yes or a no question, right? Just some ways that you can make those forms quite a bit more robust. You can require the form altogether to be answered as well. That's just by clicking required form up towards the top here. But here's your bank of questions, question types, I should say. Multiple choice, multi-select, number entries, text areas. Of course, there's always a time and place for that, but I really like to focus in on the quantitative side of these. I think that gives our customers the best results possible. When it comes to analytics, they're easy to answer while you're out in the field. You don't have to think too hard about it. And of course, you got some productivity features there towards the bottom, like adding in tasks, creating calendar events within these forms, kind of building that into the standard operating procedure of your visit with that client, right? And so these forms, highly malleable. You will want to change these over time. They should not be set in stone from the moment you create them. They're kind of living and breathing. I like to think of them that way. Now, the rest of our time here, guys, we're not going to go into integrations, but if you are interested in learning more about our integrations, please hit us up, reach out to support, reach out to your account manager or your account executive guiding you through, and we can have that conversation separately. Importing and exporting is going to take us to a page that we've touched already quite a few times today, but this is that numbers area. This is that data area where we can pull out our accounts. We can import new accounts, calendar events, activities here, all your data that's in Outfield. We like to make it as accessible as possible for you so that you can work with it, right? I hate it when I'm using platforms and I can't figure out how to pull my freaking data out, right? We try to make it really, really easy here for you. So lots of different options there for us. Team preferences, my preferences, these are going to be your general team and personal settings there. The team settings are fairly straightforward. We'll go through these. The email reports, you can sign yourself up to receive daily, weekly, monthly reports and activity spreadsheets here. All you got to do is throw in your email address, and that's going to give you that breakdown, right? It'll send out to you on those scheduled cadences there. And again, guys, they get delivered to you in the morning. It's a great thing to kind of review as you're sipping your morning coffee, getting ready for the day going. You can opt in for immediate activity alerts, but that's going to be a lot of emails for some. It might be the perfect amount of emails for others, right? It literally sends you an email after any time something happens on Outfield. So it could be a lot. Just be conscious of that. Here, you've got your custom fields. We kind of explain what they are there in these blobs of text, but they're just the special descriptors that you have on your accounts when we go in to set them up. This is where I see things like customer tier, the best day to visit my accounts, what territories they fall into. We can change these up however we choose. If I am creating a new territory, maybe we're going to create a Northeast territory. I'll just come in here and type it in, right? Northeast, hit enter, save that default field. This is going to be for my places, for my team. Here's the name of it there. But typically once you set these up, you don't have to mess with them, right? They're kind of set in stone, or not set in stone, but they're set up, they're ready for your team to use, so that as they add in new accounts, they can change the territory, they can change the best day to visit them. All you got to do is click add default field up here towards the top right, and follow that process, right? Name it out, choose the field type, whether you want that to be a text field or a choice list. I like choice list because it gives me a drop down list of some options there. And you can create these for places, contacts, your products, if you have some of those add-ons in Outfield, or your team altogether, which we typically would use more so for some of our integrations that we run. So, just like to keep the conversation open around that. If you guys, again, are interested in integration stuff,